Harry Potter is a franchise that needs no introduction, but I'm gonna give it one anyway because that's what you do in a YouTube video. Beginning in 1997 with the novel Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, J.K. Rowling's fantasy world about magical children in wizard school would become one of the biggest media empires in human history. I was actually shocked to learn that the series' lifetime revenue is more than that of Batman, Looney Tunes, Hello Kitty, and all these other massive franchises that had several decades head starts over it. There was a lot of factors that contributed to Harry Potter's nearly unprecedented success, and a big one was how the series matured alongside its audience. With the releases of the original books spanning 10 years from 1997 to 2007, Harry and the other characters were like friends that its young audience literally grew up with. Not me though. I thought Harry Potter was lame as fuck. Like if I was gonna read a book, which I wouldn't, but if I was gonna read a book, it wouldn't be a book about little kids who do magic. But I wasn't really the target audience and I was a bit too old for Harry Potter. But that didn't deter some people, some of whom were much older than me, and took their fandom to uncomfortable lengths. Ladies and gentlemen, this video is about the website that counted down to Hermione Granger's 18th birthday. This video is sponsored by Aura. It seems like every other week we're hearing about a new massive data breach. Literally, as I was working on this video, it was revealed that there is one where hackers may have stolen every single American social security number. Over 2.9 billion records are stolen from the National Public Data, which offers personal information to employers, private investigators, staffing agencies, and others doing background checks. These stolen records include person's full name, address, date of birth, social security number, and phone number, along with alternate names and birth date. And members of the hacking group have reportedly released this information online for free. If you haven't been taking precautions with your personal information online now, perhaps this is a wake-up call of sorts. And that's where Aura comes in. Aura alerts you if they find your phone number, email, or social security number on the dark web. And they let you know fast if anyone tries to use this information to access your credit card or bank accounts. They also offer up to $5 million in identity theft insurance if the worst case scenario happens, as well as a bunch of other features to keep you safe online, all in one app. You can go to my link, aura.com/wank, to try 14 days for free. That'll be enough time for Aura to find out if any of your personal data has been exposed. I highly recommend you do this right now because not only is National Public Data not going to do anything to help you, it's unlikely that the people who did this are going to face any consequences whatsoever. Once again, that's aura.com/wank to try 2 weeks for free. Somewhat recently, I mean a few years ago, but it feels recent, there was a bit of discourse over people online being weird about celebrities turning 18. People like Billie Eilish or Bad Baby. Because I'm sure they're just dying to jump into bed with men who they don't know exist that have been waiting all this time for them to become legal. It's weird behavior for sure, but believe it or not, the internet used to be so much more insane about this kind of thing. Realizing that this story that I'm about to tell you took place over 20 years ago hit me like a ton of bricks. For some of you watching, you've heard people say things like, oh, times were different. I don't think you'll have comprehended how different until you're done with this story. So whenever these kinds of conversations come up, I always think of this old website, The Bewitching Hour. TheBewitchingHour.com is made on July 14th of 2003. What's the site about? Let's take a look. Welcome to The Bewitching Hour. This is the official countdown website to Hermione Granger's 18th birthday. There's a clock counting down to Emma Watson's 18th birthday. It says, "The Bewitching Hour will soon be upon us." The homepage then goes into more detail about her. In case you've been camping out in the wilderness or stationed in Guam for the past several years, I suppose I should tell you a little bit about Miss Hermione Granger. First of all, her name is pronounced Hermione, not Hermione. You can remember where the accent goes because it's on the my, as in Hermione is my girl, not yours, which means don't even think about it. Secondly, Hermione is the smartest girl at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Way smarter than me, you, or even Harry Potter. She knows a lot about everything, mainly because she reads a lot of books. So you're reading this and at first you're like, oh, a child wrote this. Like this is more or less how stan culture kids on Twitter sound. A person who was more into celebrity culture at this time could probably trace a direct line from early 2000s fan websites and modern stan culture. But of course, in this context, why would a kid care when someone turns 18? It continues. I also read a ton of books, though mine are mostly sci-fi paperbacks that I pick up at library sales for about 25 cents a piece. Oh yeah, this is definitely a Gen Xer writing this. Thirdly, I predict that Hermione Granger will one day be headmistress of Hogwarts. If for some reason she doesn't become headmistress, I predict that she'll become one of the greatest witches to ever graduate from Hogwarts. Perhaps she'll be referred to as Hermione the Great, which is already what I call her when I'm showing one of my coworkers the picture of her that I have in my Velcro wallet. She truly is the headmistress of my heart. Finally, he goes on to the purpose of the website. Counting down to New Year's is already old hat. Counting down Casey Kasem's top 40 hits is more like counting down America's top 40 pits. Counting down to a space shuttle launch is about as thrilling as counting down to an office brown bag lunch. No worries, we finally got a countdown you can really sink your teeth into. Although be warned, this young lady knows more than her fair share of counter curses against vampires, if you know what I'm saying. And I think you do. Hermione Granger is well on her way to the ripe old age of 18. The ripe old age. You can get your fill of all the red-hot, sizzling, counting down action you can handle right here at the Bewitching Hour. Enjoy. Now grab your wand and get counting. It's important to note that when this site was made, Emma Watson would have been 14 years old, so this is an incredibly long countdown. But in the meantime, we can kill some of those 4 years by reading the website's information section, which includes trivia like her full name. I never knew that one of her middle names was Yurt. We got stuff like her height, astrological sign, school plays that she did, her pets, her likes and dislikes, that her holiday wish for 2001 was peace between America and Afghanistan. Just a lot of info gathered from various interviews that she did. And while this all might seem kind of crazy and obsessive, basically every celebrity fan page at this time had a section like this. The information section also contains the Emma Watson obsession test. We're about to go Jeff Foxworthy mode on Emma Watson. You might be obsessed with Emma Watson if you go to the hairdresser and you demand straight/wavy blonde hair and a fringe and always wear it in plaits. Every time you see a cat, you call it Bubbles or Domino, which of course were the names of her cats, and that's what people do. They see a cat and they call it their own cat's name for some reason. You tell people to call you Emma. Wait, so does this guy want to date her, or does he want to become her? There's a whole ass list of these, 23 in total. And actually, this too was a common format for these kinds of fan pages. Digging through the ruins of old websites, you'll still find similar early 2000s obsession tests for stuff like the Beatles, Pokemon, Newsies. All in all, this is probably the least abnormal part of this website. It'd be the same as just about any other fan page from this period in time, if not for the fact that it was all built around a 14-year-old turning 18. Now we're off to the pictures section. Here are my favorite pictures of Hermione. She is so damn hot. And it's promo shots from what has to be when she was like 11 or 12. Okay, class, who wants to go out on a date with Jason when you turn 18? Jason, of course, being the person behind this website, but we'll get to that later. There were also some more recent pictures from interviews and some edits featuring that classic Photoshop 3.0 lens flare that was in every other forum signature at the time. And then there's the Christina Aguilera picture. Before working on this video, I hadn't set eyes on this website for like 20 years. And I hadn't remembered the Christina Aguilera picture existing in those 20 years, but now I look at it and it's got this kind of familiarity to it as if people have been posting it constantly for years. This is a picture I edited in Photoshop. I put Hermione's head on Christina Aguilera's body so that I could see what Hermione will look like when she turns 18. The verdict? Dead sexy. And it kind of looks like if a person with two heads had one of their heads removed. So what kind of person would make a website like this? Let's take a look at the About Me page. The owner identifies himself as Jason Killingsworth and shows this picture of himself in a room full of all of his Harry Potter stuff. Honestly, more hygienic looking than I would have expected, but I guess you never know. Then he goes into his day-to-day life. Let me start by saying that I am a whiz when it comes to computers. I've been programming and coding since I was about 12. I prefer to work my magic in a Unix environment. If you're a muggle when it comes to computer magic, Unix is an operating system. Sort of. It's actually more akin to a class of operating systems. It's what Linux is based on to a large extent. You see, Linux was built to be... Alright, he goes on for a really long time about Linux and Unix, and about how he named his computer mouse Scabbers after Ron's pet rat. He then explains how a coworker introduced him to the books, and he trusted his judgment after he recommended Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. Then he explains how he's built his whole office around Harry Potter now. I even have a Harry Potter screensaver on my computer that shows Harry in the middle of a heated Quidditch match, swooping down on his broom, reaching out precariously to grab the golden snitch. Then the phrase, "Can you dig it?" flashes up on the screen. It's pretty awesome. It was well worth the $19.95 I spent on it. Finally, he goes into why he's into Hermione. My favorite character in the Harry Potter books is definitely Hermione. I think that's because I can relate to her so well. She reminds me of when I was a kid with long wavy shoulder-length hair, my hand always shooting up in class to answer whatever question the teacher might volley our way. Sometimes, if she called in someone else, I just shout out the answer before they could even guess. I love books. As you already may have guessed, I was always using my wits to get my friends out of trouble. One night at a D&D role-playing game party in 6th grade, my friend Joey spilled Dr. Pepper all over the couch. I used a special mixture of baking powder, salt, and ground oregano to bring out the stain. We'd always argue over which soft drink had the most caffeine. Those are good times. And the other reason why Hermione is my favorite character is because she is bewitchingly beautiful. To be quite honest, she cast a spell on me from the moment I met her. I guess I should wrap this up. So I'll leave you with a poem I wrote about my favorite character, Ms. Hermione Granger. Hermione, oh me, oh my. Oh my, oh me, for you I'd die. You charmed me with your wand and smile, and I'd loved you for a long, long while. You raise your hand so high in class, I'd take you on a date, alas. You're not quite old enough, and yet my heart burns for you like a smoldering sunset. And he has a drawing he made of her. Now, I feel like a lot of you have come to the same conclusion at this point in the video. You figured out that this website is 100% satirical. If the details of the Velcro wallet, the ridiculous Christina Aguilera picture, Casey Kasem's top boardy pits, the ground oregano stain remover at D&D night, the Linux rant, the 1995 screensaver. Like, it's just so dense with jokes about a very specific type of nerd. In fact, even the picture he uses was taken from an old Onion article entitled "Children, Creepy Middle-Aged Weirdos Swept Up in Harry Potter Craze." Obviously, this article was also making fun of adult Harry Potter fans in a similar way, but it didn't go quite as far. Some people who saw the article first even thought that this guy was stealing their joke. But although he was mocking Harry Potter adults in a similar way, he was also taking aim at another phenomenon that had been getting weirdly popular online. You see, a little before this website was made, the Olsen twins had turned 17. And then the internet began to fill up with websites counting down to their 18th birthday. Like you had this one on a content aggregator website called Broken News. The Olsen Meter. We have all sat and waited patiently for these two golden wonders to reach the age of eligibility. For some of us, it was two of a kind. For others, Full House. No matter how you found them, you're hooked. Broken News has used advanced technology to assure you will not miss the day these two turn 18. Gentlemen, start your engines and get out your best booze. The countdown has begun. The Olsen twins are waiting for you. Then you had this one on ChaseBrown.com that was more bare bones and had links to porn sites. And it wasn't just an internet thing. You had people making t-shirts about them becoming legal. Howard Stern said he wanted to make a Girls Gone Wild video with them. Rolling Stone put them on a cover with the caption, "America's Favorite Fantasy." And there was coverage by other mainstream outlets that made similar comments. And while a lot of the stuff that was posted online had a comedic bent to it, there were a lot of people who were earnestly like, oh man, oh boy, I can't wait for my chance to do things with these girls who I've been watching on TV since they were literally babies. And after the Olsen twins, you would have similar countdowns for people like Lindsay Lohan and Hilary Duff. So basically, the Hermione Granger site was satirizing this culture, which, although not everyone was on board, was weirdly acceptable at the time. Although it was circulating around a bit earlier, the website didn't draw much attention at first. The oldest instance I could find of people finding and talking about it was actually a Dave Matthews Band fan forum called Ants Marching in May of 2004. And you thought I liked Emma Watson? Yeah, I fuck around about my obsession with her. Mostly to creep out the people who got the wrong impression when I said she was hot, which I sincerely believe. But this, I mean, poor Emma, I don't know what to say. You have to admit, when I say something is creepy, especially concerning Emma, it says something. It's saying a whole hell of a lot. Nobody really blinks at the fact that this guy is like, she's hot, but this guy's doing it weirder than me. But the replies are still generally disgusted by the whole thing. Although you do have this one guy that's like, come on bro, she's not even that hot. Then OP realizes it was a joke website, and he feels extra embarrassed because he's usually the guy that calls people out for not getting jokes. He notices that the site is actually at the URL jasonkill.com/Hermione. So you go to the root site, jasonkill.com, and you see that it's some guy's blog who is nothing at all like the dude portrayed on the Hermione page. He was just clearly not the man in the photo. He was actually a 24-year-old Irishman who worked for Paste magazine at the time, and his blog was full of well-written, thoughtful prose that sounds nothing like a guy who is obsessed with Linux and Harry Potter. But it isn't until a month later that the site really blows up. It gets some coverage on a few smaller blogs and aggregators, but then it goes nuclear when Fark gets a hold of it. Fark, if you're not familiar, is an aggregator site that was kind of like Reddit half a decade before Reddit existed. I do plan to eventually do a video about Fark, but for the purposes of this video, just to understand that at this point in time, Fark was determining what a good chunk of the internet would be seeing on any given day. You can look at the Internet Archive's calendar, and it's very clear which day it reached Fark. June 22nd of 2004. Posted with the scary tag, creepy guy in his 30s obsessed with Harry Potter's Emma Watson makes a Hermione Granger countdown site. This comment thread is such a time capsule. Like, most people in it are either like, this guy is gross, or this is obviously a satirical website. But then you have people who are like, well actually, this guy's a whack job. or a not funny wannabe parodist. Still, Emma Watson is damn cute at age 13 or 15 or whatever she is. And just like Kirsten Dunst and Natalie Portman before her, in time, she too will become the subject of boobies links. As for Hermione fantasies, it's no better or worse than Aragorn or Legolas or Arwen fantasies. Age differences apply there too, smiley face. Then the site gets farked, which is a term that was used for when the traffic that came from a fark link was so much that it crashed the website. Throughout this burst in traffic, Jason starts to get comments from people who think he's 100% serious and he's the guy in the video. So he responds, "It's a joke, silly. I'm 24, not 45. I've never used Unix in my life. The about picture of me is from The Onion, and I made up everything else." Time to take a deep breath and look up irony on a different website, dictionary.com. At this point, he'd also make some changes to the website. He removed the Christina Aguilera picture, he removed the obsession test from the info page, he changed instances of the word hot to cute, and he changed the name of the guy on the website to Donald Niffington. From this point, the website would continue to circulate around various forums, with most of the comments falling into one of the following categories. 1. This guy's a creep. 2. This is obviously a joke. 3. I don't care that it's a joke, it's still creepy. 4. She's not even that hot. Of course, most of the really good stuff was left in his guest book. There's pages upon pages of stuff, mostly similar to the other forum comments, but you get a lot of posts from kids who are like, "No, you can't have her because she's mine." Name, Stuart. Email, I'd never tell you. URL, www.pedophilesrus.com. Dude, you are a pedophile. I'm 12 years old, so it is normal to have a crush on her for me. But you are 45 fucking years old. Go fuck a warm apple pie. Suck a dildo, and then shove it in your old hairy ass. And then scream out, "Oh yes." That is better than having a crush on Emma. And just so you know, I have a friend that knows her, and I'm gonna tell him to report you. You fucking shitty excuse for a homo sapien. And Emma is mine, not yours. The day I meet her, I'm gonna ask her to sue you. Signed, Stuart. P.S. Go jerk off with a hot dog. Tape it and put it on your site. Got another guy spam posting, "She's with me," and "You suck dicks." This being 2004, you also got a bunch of people calling him gay. Name, John. Email, poop. Dude, you are the biggest fucking homo. You should fucking do nothing instead of dreaming about 15-year-old girl that you'll never have a chance at anyway. You fucking pedophile whorebag. You should just go fuck yourself. You fucking gay bastard. Fuck you. One of my favorites was this guy who tried and failed to post Goatsy. Name, pwned motherfucker. CJC greater than you. This is you after prison. He tries to put it as an HTML tag in the guest book, which doesn't work. And I guess he realized it didn't work, so he tried it again. And I guess he thought putting like the HTML tags around it would make it work. Even if that did work, it's still the wrong URL. Lost in all the noise though was a comment by a user named Keith who made probably the most thoughtful post on the topic at the time. For all those people who can't accept this site as a joke, strictly speaking, you're right. It's a piece of satire. It's not the first countdown to the 18th birthday of an underage girl, and that's the creator's point. The difference is, many of those who have made previous countdowns have not been jokes. But the fact they have not received the criticism shown on this guest book is part of the point. Of course, it's also a parody of the thousands of grown adults who do have Harry Potter obsessions far beyond what the average kid does. Anybody who reads what has been written, rather than just look at the pictures and the countdown, will see the sarcastic undertones. And the character of the website's fictional creator has just about every geek cliche in the book. It's pretty interesting that of all the 18th birthday countdowns that were online at the time, and all of the similar remarks made by mainstream publications, that the one person who actually got hate for it was the guy who was doing it as satire, as criticism. The one guy who's trying to demonstrate how the thing that all these websites and all these companies are doing is actually weird as shit. But when Rolling Stone calls the 17-year-old Olsen twins America's favorite fantasy, you're not thinking of the guy sitting there actually fantasizing. Even though, they're basically calling the whole country pedophiles, including you, the reader. But when you have a picture of a guy that's already someone you might think is weird to begin with because he's a nerd that's obsessed with children's books, then you're like, oh, actually, this is not good. And as for the phenomenon of mainstream publications counting down a celebrity's 18th birthdays, Emma Watson herself once recalled an incident that happened on her 18th birthday. I remember on my 18th birthday, I came out of my birthday party and photographers laid down on the pavement and took photographs up my skirt, which were then published on the front of the English tabloids the next morning. If they had published the photographs 24 hours earlier, they would have been illegal. But because I had just turned 18, they were legal. Now, note that in the years since she shared this story, it has become illegal to do this. But it really is crazy to look back on how socially accepted some of this stuff was. And it wasn't really that long ago. But anyway, that's all for now. If you like this video, turn on notifications and check out my video on the Paris Hilton sex tape. I'm out.